Hola, Gavin.
Hola, Louis.
You're fresh from España.
I am. I guess in that case, I should actually call you Luis.
Yes, you're looking like a full cheetah girl right now, honey.
You texted me that. I was like, I'm too old for that reference.
Well, I only saw, I think, perhaps 2 cheetah girl movies. I know that there are more.
Are there more?
I mean, there might be one more where Raven doesn't come into the picture. She might have been over it, or perhaps the negotiations broke down. She said, "I am not a cheetah girl."
Did she see a vision of the future? And she was like, "This is a bad moneymaker."
Yeah, she saw a vision and she said, "I'm not going to be the fucking group anymore. How about that?" That's the future I can see. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Mixed Reviews.
We are a film podcast where we take a film subject such as an actor, director, or a mini genre, and we take 2 weeks. We watch as much as we can, and we give you a full history, and then we tell you what we like and what we don't like.
And it's been a little bit. We've been busy.
We have.
This past month. So it was a little bit more than 2 weeks. But Gavin was on vacation. I'm in the middle of moving. A lot of life is happening. We also have a little announcement that's like going to tell you guys also why we're also very busy. We can see that for later, right? What do you think?
Yeah, why not? Well,
okay.
We'll table it.
Yeah, we're going to put a pin in that. We'll return to it. But yes, thank you so much. We do have some old business to take care of before we get to this episode. I'm gonna rip the Band-Aid off. We didn't do a poll for this episode because, as I previously said, we have been very busy. That's my bad. It's my responsibility. Gavin was out gallivanting with his cheetah girls, and bless.
Exactly.
You were eating pineapple stuffed olives,
yeah. I found a place. I mean, first of all, Spain, olive oil country, baby. And I went to a store and I saw pineapple stuffed olives, and I was like, you know what, these are for me.
I just cannot believe the level of how calm and collected, as if that is so normal. I would have been like,
I was gonna bring you back a jar, but that's like customs is like, no, don't do that.
Thanks, 9/11. So there's no poll, but just know that Frankenstein, there are so many good movies to watch. We hope you guys enjoyed your spooky season. We hope you enjoyed our shortened 1 episode of spooktacular nonsense. I mean, Gavin has been over the years just bringing me to the darkness, turning me from an honorary spooky bitch into
a full spooky bitch.
A full spooky bitch.
That's Miss Spooky Bitch if you're nasty.
Yeah, I'm spook versatile.
Heard that about you.
Yeah, that's what all the boys are saying. But yes, so please go check out, or I hope you checked out a couple of Frankenstein movies for your Halloween season. Now, with that out of the way, Gavin.
We have, as we mentioned in our previous episode, we started a Patreon. And while we probably won't talk about it at the beginning of every episode, you are going to have to hear us talk about it sometimes. Sorry, but
we're not sorry, actually. You are so lucky to see us if you are on our Patreon.
Absolutely.
See our beautiful face.
This is me being beautiful. But yeah, so if you are watching this right now, you're most likely a Patreon subscriber. And if you're just listening to it, you can log in and join our Patreon. And it's, for $5 a month, you get to watch. And for $10 a month, you get updates. And there's plenty of other things that come along with that, including in our $10 tier, the All-Stars tier. Part of the reward is that you get a shout out on the show. And I love this. We have a list of people who signed up already. So thank you so much. I want to give the most heartfelt shout out I can to Chelsea, to Gal,
Alexia, also known as Gimli Q on the interwebs, Jesse Wheeler, Joel Arnold, who's been on the show before, same as Chelsea,
John Walber, and Roy Mao. Thank you all so much.
Yes. I
was not expecting this kind of reception, and
you were very no one's gonna be doing this.
Yeah, I know. I was literally no one wants to do this, but
we're glad you guys are with us. Thank you so much for all your support. We've been having some giggles and laughs over on the Discord, not on the discourse, on the Discord. So yeah, join us over there. All of the money from this is basically going to pay the bills. It costs money to host the show, and anything that we have left over, we'll just buy merch and have giveaways. And so it's all kind of coming back to you guys. So this is all for the community. So
yes,
again, we thank you. And if you want to join us on the Patreon, please do that. We have lots of fun.
We're stealing your ducats. Wait, no, that's not right.
Okay, I think that's all of our business. Oh, wait. So let's unpin that now, right?
Pull that pin out. We got an announcement.
We have an announcement. We are very, very excited to announce that the Mixed Reviews, Gavin and I, will be co-hosting the Bowery Film Festival. It is, oh God, I should pull up the dates. It's in a couple weeks.
It's
in the
November
Bowery.
17th, I believe, through...
I think it's 17th through the 19th, I believe.
Yes.
And we'll post more updates on Twitter. We're meeting actually with the director tomorrow of the film festival to hammer out all the details. But we will be there to introduce movies, do little Q&A sessions, meet some film fans, just have a great time. So if you're in the New York area or the tri-state area and you want to come down to the Bowery and watch some movies, please do join us.
Yeah, it's going to be so much fun. It's going to be a lot of new stuff, a lot of, types of films that you've probably never even seen before. It seems really cool, really cutting edge, and we're very excited. Louis and I have never done anything like this before. No. So this double act is going live. Yeah.
Yeah. I usually travel. I don't like to host, but for this, I'm making an exception. And
I do have a spare bedroom now.
So we're going to put the information for buying tickets and parties and all those things on our Twitter, on our Instagram, and all those places. Please join us. We can't wait. See you guys.
Absolutely. It's going to be so much fun. I'm more excited than I could possibly even say. Like I'm very, but I'm also nervous by nature. So I think that is it's nervousness, excitement. It's nersitement.
That's the name of your band, Nervous by Nature.
Nervous by Nature. Don't jump around.
Yeah,
the floor has not been braced.
Yeah, I'm worried. I'm worried about this, guys.
The downstairs neighbors are complaining.
Yeah.
Don't jump around.
But okay, hopefully we see you guys there. Now, finally, it's been way too long, Gavin. Let's get into our new subject. Who are we talking about today?
We're talking about the beautiful, the wonderful, the talented, the tall, and the fucking badass.
Yes.
Sigourney Weaver.
Miss Sigourney herself, honey.
Oh, wow.
We've been talking about this on the Discord. I keep saying it very fucking weird because I want to say discourse, but it's the Discord. We've been talking about Sigourney a little bit on the Discord.
Which is another perk if you join the Patreon. You get early talk, and sometimes we'll talk about our subjects before the episode goes up. Just saying. Yep.
And that's only on the first on the lower tier of the Patreon. So $5, guys. But yeah, we've been talking about like what a strange wackadoo career for someone who is, I would argue, like definitely like an A-list celebrity, has been around since the 70s, has made a huge cultural impact just on the strength of Alien alone, right? Like she's had a billion movies, like literally we did not get to all of them. LOL. But
and she's classically trained. It's not not like she's like, oh, she was like a model and somebody came up to her and was like, you should be a star. Like, she did the hard yards of acting school.
Right. And she's got Alien, so she does genre. She's in Avatar, which is like one of the top grossing movies, whatever the fuck. But she also has all these teeny tiny little baby movies that I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? I gotta say, the reviews are going to be very mixed.
I think she just likes to work. I think that's one of the things. I was reading, there's a great New York Times profile that just came out. I read it, and one of the things she mentions in it, like, that she's a lifelong New Yorker because she moved to LA for a little bit, and they were kind of unserious about acting. They didn't think it was a noble profession. And I was like, oh, okay, she's like into acting.
Yeah. She's like, there are no serious actors in Los Angeles. I gotta say, she does have that voice that's very like commanding and like. Anytime she talks, I'm like, yeah, you could be president with that voice. Just like, tell me what. Just very direct and commanding. Also, she is funny, like Working Girl, Galaxy Quest. They're
Ghostbusters.
She hits all the genres like easy.
Yeah, it's funny. I think I would piss or shit myself if she ever yelled at me.
Oh
I think that would be.
But
I'd be like, oh no.
But she also it's because she plays mom so well also.
Yes.
You know, when she does give that like comforting, like loving, and that's why she's so fucking scary when she's playing evil, because when she's bad, she's like, she uses that like lullaby thing she has going on, but then she's like, murder.
Having you say that makes me think about the fact that she kind of played an ingenue for a little bit, but she never fully had an ingenue phase, and I think it's because she was so fully formed from the time that she started doing movies that she just never. I guess weirdly enough, the closest we ever got to her doing ingenue type stuff is Ghostbusters, where she's just kind of like a love interest.
Right. I mean, a little bit in Eyewitness, maybe. Like, maybe.
I just watched that today, and I guess she doesn't have a ton of agency in that.
I mean, what's funny is I think of her in the same lane as Jamie Lee Curtis, who we have talked about before, and
who's like one of her best friends.
Yeah, duh. And then also Susan Sarandon. I kept getting fucking mixed up between Susan Sarandon and Sigourney Weaver. They just have like very, to me, similar like vibes and faces, I guess.
I think they're very different heights, though.
And that's where they get you.
Exactly.
But I think all three of them have very similar acting styles. They're all very regal women. They act very regally.
Regal is a great, try to describe her without using the word regal.
Right. And they all have that same power of being regal women who are gonna fucking kick your ass and kill you, but also are like motherly and warm. But it's funny you mentioned the ingenue, because I think Jamie Lee Curtis was definitely way more like doing sexy things, and like, so they are different, of course.
Yeah.
But to me, I get the same energy and same vibes. But okay, let's stop teasing them, Gavin.
Let's get into our rewind. Susan Alexandra Weaver was born in New York City on October 8th, 1949, which A means she just had a birthday, and B means that she is 73, and C means that Sigourney is not her real name.
Yeah, fully not. Miss Alexandra.
Her mother, Elizabeth Ingalls, was an English actress and a native of Colchester, England, and her father, Sylvester Pat Weaver, was an American television executive born in Los Angeles, and he was the president of NBC between 1953 and 55, and he created both NBC's Today Show and The Tonight Show. So,
casual. Never heard of it.
Exactly. So she comes from like an entertainment lineage, which is funny because she kind of said that her parents didn't want this for her.
I think that they were horrified that I was going to take this on. My father thought it was good to go to drama school. That would probably shake this goal right out of me, and it almost did.
I was listening to her talk about, there was a whole half-an-hour interview she did with like pioneers of television about her dad. She loves talking about her dad. And she was talking about how like he tried to start another television network. He tried to start the fourth television network, and NBC essentially wouldn't let him. And also because he was presiding over the Today Show when it, started, that means he presided over when they had a chimpanzee as one of the like people on set that was like, I think he was like a weatherman or something. And she said, yeah, like obviously nowadays, having done Gorillas in the Mist, I realize, we shouldn't treat animals this way.
I can't believe we're already talking about Gorillas in the Mist so early.
She's like, that chimp stole my hat.
Yeah.
It was a matching outfit hat.
I was a little afraid of J. Fred because he was fast, and he was my size, and as I said, he got to do the fun thing, which was go in where all these people crack these wonderful jokes and be where all the action was. So, he was sort of an important figure for me.
At the age of 14, Weaver began using the name Sigourney. It's taken from a minor character in the book The Great Gatsby.
I had great trouble saying at the height of 6 feet, my name is Sue, so small. And I just saw this name and I went, oh, I love that. It goes on. That's fantastic. I like the look of it. 3 syllables. I thought I'm going to use that till I can figure out what name I'd really like, because I'm not going to use crazy name like Sigourney. It was absolutely a placeholder.
I see that the family is very keen on nicknames.
Yes.
Like you mentioned, Pat for Sylvester, and they have a brother, Winstead, who is known as Doodles. This sounds like I'm so sorry. Like, it sounds like rich white people who are like, oh, Winstead, but like she's like, okay, you're fucking cool now. We're calling you Doodles. Like, what?
Can you imagine having an Uncle Doodles? Because that's her father's brother. So, yeah,
I cannot, and I can't imagine a Winstead either. That's the fucking crazy name.
She started tending school in New York, but eventually ended up at the Ethel Walker School in Simsbury, Connecticut, and she developed, aspirations of performance art there. Also, this school kind of sounds a little bit like maybe
Shishi.
a little, shishi, maybe a little artsy fartsy. One of her earliest roles was in a stage adaptation of the poem The Highwaymen. She also played the Rudolph Valentino character in an adaptation of the silent film The Sheik for the stage, which, like, already doing gender bent work. Very cool, very interesting.
Yeah, I just can't, like, doing adaptations in high school, I'm just like, public schools don't even, like, they're lucky to get High School Musical, okay? Like, what the fuck?
And she's also doing this on her own time. She's working on the summers. She's doing theatrical productions of Streetcar Named Desire and You Can't Take It With You. Also, she reaches the height of 5'10" and a half by the age of 11 now. She's a 6 foot tall woman.
That's taller than me now.
Which is so funny. Because it's not taller than me, but
at 11 years old, she was taller than my 34-year ass. What the fuck?
I'm so happy to know that I would be like eye to eye with her. Like, it's so nice to know that. I don't know why. But she said, negative impact on self-esteem here. Like, this is, that's something that kids bully you about. That's something that you're like, the tall freak.
Being tall as being tall as your struggle to me is like the most annoying thing. I don't care. I'm sorry, tall people. I'm not sorry. Like, you have good lives.
Spoken like a short person.
We're fighting.
She said she felt like a giant spider, and she never had the confidence that she could act because she felt so out of place amongst her peers.
She went to Sarah Lawrence.
I got into Sarah Lawrence, I will have you know. Yeah, I did. And then my dad was like, we're poor.
Yeah. The thing about good schools is you can't also be poor.
Yeah, it's truly. I mean, it's not even a catch-22. It's just honesty.
It is.
From Sarah Lawrence, she transferred to Stanford as a freshman.
Wow.
And she was majoring in English. And the thing is like, so she's heavily involved in the theater at Stanford, but she doesn't want to be involved with the Stanford theater program because she thinks that their drama department was like stuffy and stale. So she joins the Powell Alto Company, and they're doing like Shakespeare, Commedia dell'arte. Like, she is capital A acting and is like, no thank you to your boring old plays.
Yeah, she's like, the Bay Area is full of freaks and artists, and I'm going to be part of that world.
She was going to enter Stanford's PhD English program and was like, I'm going to be a journalist. I'm going to be a writer. And then she was like, no thank you. Once again, because she's like, this shit's boring.
Yeah.
This is so boring.
Good for her.
And she ends up graduating in 1972 with a BA in English. She then applies to Yale School of Drama, and she gets in.
It's I don't understand people who are like, I'm going to get my undergrad degree in whatever the fuck, and then get a master's degree in acting. Pop off, girly. I guess mom and dad have the money, clearly.
Yeah. Did I mention her dad created the Today Show?
Right. Katie Couric, you're welcome.
So she had a difficult time at Yale. She hated the shows they were doing there at the Yale Repertory Theater. And she had very little luck getting lead roles while she was there. She actually had an acting teacher refer to her as talentless.
Burn. Fuck.
And they also told her to give up on drama and stick to comedy. But while she's there, she meets Christopher Durang, fucking amazing playwright Christopher Durang, and he keeps hiring her to do his plays. And she also joins the Yale Cabaret, which, really, she's like, this is what got me through school. And she graduates from Yale with a Master's of Fine Arts in 1974. She was saying that in that article for the New York Times that at one point she was in Christopher Durang's play Titanic, in which she plays several roles. And one of them is a young girl with a gerbil living inside her vagina. And she spoke to a professor who came to see the show and asked him what he thought about it. And he said, well, I just didn't truly believe there was a gerbil in your vagina.
Right.
And it ruined her performance because she was like, I need to act. I need to like discuss research. And she said the next night she did it, there was not a single laugh in the house.
Wow. See, and don't listen to your teachers, kids.
I have to say, they could not have been meaner. And the irony was that they were fired when I graduated. So the lesson to me is, don't believe what your teachers tell you.
She was in the first production of Stephen Sondheim's musical The Frogs, alongside Larry Blyden and Meryl Streep. As I mentioned, Christopher Durang keeps hiring her. He actually puts her in the original cast of Beyond Therapy, Off-Broadway. And, before her big screen debut, she's in commercials. She does television roles, including a bit on a soap opera called Somerset, which I was not able to find, but maybe if I look a little harder before editing the episode, there might be a clip. And then she has a really teeny tiny part in the movie Annie Hall, the Woody Allen film. I did not revisit this because, as I've said before, no more Woody Allen on this show.
No more Woody Allen.
But to my vague recollection, she doesn't even have a line. And I was reading somewhere that she actually had a bigger role written for her, but she was like, no, I'm doing theater stuff. So like,
I'm a real actress, actually. So
so after that experience, she continues working off Broadway, and I met aforementioned Titanic with Christopher Durang. And finally she goes in and she auditions for this role in this little
baby
film.
movie.
Yeah, it's this scary movie about an extraterrestrial
made by a small-time filmmaker named Ridley Scott.
Ridley Scott, this no one. And yeah, she lands this lead role as Warrant Officer Lieutenant Ripley in the film Alien in 1979. There's some info that says that this role was originally supposed to go to Veronica Cartwright, and then Veronica Cartwright was moved to a smaller role, so this larger role could be given to Sigourney Weaver. There's also been talk over the years about how there's nothing in the script that says that Ripley is a woman.
Right.
And so it's kind of this genderless role. It doesn't really matter that she's a woman,
right?
Which is kind of cool.
Anyone can play that role. It's funny that her first like big break is in this sci-fi thing that really lays the groundwork. And getting into it, I really do think she's the best part of that movie. And I like her. I mean, the character is so good. We don't know her first name until the second movie. So like really in that first movie, she is just Ripley. Like they are all just, they call each other by last names and stuff. What I love about that movie, I had never seen it before, first of all. I saw it for this. I'd never seen it before because I knew it's fucking scary. And it is fucking scary. I
was going to say, were you hiding under the covers?
I absolutely was like doing this thing, covering my ears and like, and leaning back like this. Because famously, I've said this before on this podcast, I hate when mouths come out of other mouths, and Alien...
You have said that before on this podcast.
I know. And what is the xenomorph, which we learn is their names later, that's their main gag, the fucking mouth coming out of a mouth. But what I love most about this movie is that it is actually like a movie about like fucking kind of like class warfare shit. Like it's literally like these are fucking working class blue collar people who just want to, one, get paid, and two, get home from work. And like the cruelty and obsession with fucking money by the overlord people put them in these awful hazardous situations, and they don't care.
Ash, when Dallas and Kane are off the ship, I'm senior officer.
Oh, yes, I forgot.
You also forgot the Science Division's basic quarantine law.
No, that I didn't forget.
Oh, I see. You just broke it. Huh?
Look, what would you have done with Kane? Hmm? You know his only chance of survival was to get him in here.
Unfortunately, by breaking quarantine, you risk everybody's life.
Maybe I should have left him outside. Maybe I've jeopardized the rest of us, but it was a risk I was willing to take.
It's a pretty big risk for a science officer. It's not exactly out of the manual, is it?
I do take my responsibilities as seriously as you know.
And that's my hot take on Alien, and it's very fucking scary. And I said this on the Discord, the music is really good. Like, they popped off on that soundtrack.
Do you think if the crew of the Nostromo went on strike, that Alien would have respected that? Mm-hmm. I think that Alien's pro-union.
That, please, that alien just wants, to grow the union of xenomorphs.
That's true. That's the truth.
I mean, but also, like, I think there's a conversation. I saw two of the movies. I saw this one and the second one. But, like, the whole idea of, like, there are fucking robots who are taking over their jobs, literally. And in the first movie, fucking Ash, who from the jump, I was like, I fucking hate this guy. And surprise, surprise, he's a bad robot. That the fucking
Ash is a goddamn robot.
Yeah. And like, I'm glad that the other robot in the second one was like a good guy or whatever and like saves the day.
Bishop.
Yes.
See, I know their names. I'm friends with them.
I remember Ash. I didn't like the second one as much though because I hate children as actors.
Yeah,
and
that's
unfortunately there is a child in that movie that is just like,
I mean, listen, the other two have their charms. They also have their negatives. I like Alien 3. I think Alien Resurrection is for being made by people that I loved at the time too, because it's a Jean-Pierre Jeunet film. It's a script by Joss Whedon, and when I was a teenager, I was like, give me all that.
Yeah.
But it's no bueno.
No bueno. I mean, the year was 1997. Okay, it was no bueno for a lot of culture.
But I do think that Alien and Aliens like both really deserve their place. I mean, Alien is a very scary horror movie. I know you mentioned that she's the best thing in it, but I really do love the rest of that cast too. Ian Holm, Harry Dean Stanton, Yaphet Kotto, Tom Skerritt, Veronica Cartwright, and John Hurt. I think all like it's kind of a weak linkless cast.
I think I say I like her the best just because I like her character the best.
Yeah.
I'm like, everyone else is so like that the Veronica Cartwright character, I'm like, why'd you hit her? She is doing her job. Like, you are stupid. All of you are stupid. Of course. Of course the smart woman is like, hey, contamination. They're like, LOL, whatever, let me in, don't be a bitch.
And then the sequel, Aliens, is this brilliant action movie with some horror elements that really gave us John Cameron. I mean, obviously, like, you could argue Terminator and everything, but I think this is the set piece, that really gives us the modern James Cameron.
The second movie, I think, has more iconic, like, moments. Like, when the alien comes out of the water, like, behind the little girl, I was like, okay, that's really fucking cool. But also, like, eat that girl, I don't care.
Yeah. It's so funny, too, because that's the other thing is, one of the things I love about her, the idea that Ripley is sort of genderless, is that she has to bring a whole host of her own stuff to the table in a very unique way. And then I think in the second movie, by saddling her with a childlike character, you're just instantly giving her like mom vibes. Yeah. And I don't think that's bad. I think she's really great. And I think, but it is one of those things where it's like instantly like you kind of lose that ambiguity of who Ellen Ripley is.
Amy.
She was cremated and interred at Westlake Repository, Little Chute, Wisconsin. No children.
promised her that I would be home for her birthday. Her 11th birthday.
I mean, in the second movie, they go out of their way to be like, she had a daughter, she's died now because it's been so
Right.
long. And like, so they're really playing up the femininity of Ripley, as opposed to in the first movie, they are playing up that this woman is fucking smart, she's a badass, she's gonna take care of shit. Like, in the second movie, like, literally, she's risking her life and the few surviving people left to go save this kid who, by all accounts, like, should have been dead. There's no reason for the alien to have done what he did. Like, sorry, gal, but it's enjoyable.
This movie garners her an Academy Award nomination for Best Actress and a Golden Globe Award for Best Actress.
That's why we don't get that these days.
No, we don't. That's the thing. And like, it's one of those things where like, I don't know, was Charlize Theron nominated for Furiosa in Mad Max? Like,
No, but even like Toni Collette in Hereditary, which people were
Right.
like, "What an amazing performance!" But it's horror, it's genre. Like they're not going to recognize it, and they don't. Like I can't remember the last horror role that really has been recognized by anybody that's like notable.
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
And that really gets the ball rolling for her in her career, though. And I mean, in the next couple of years, you previously mentioned Eyewitness, the Yates film. Then you also have the Mel Gibson film, The Year of Living Dangerously. She stars in Ghostbusters and its sequel, Ghostbusters 2. I'm going to pause right there just to talk about that era. It's funny. Did you see any of those other things besides Eyewitness?
I didn't rewatch the Ghostbusters, but I have seen them. They're like kind of foggy memories back in the day. I did not see The Year of Living Dangerously. So yeah, the thing that I watched for this episode was Eyewitness, which is kind of a crazy movie.
It's funny. So Eyewitness and The Year of Living Dangerously are both journalism films, which I think you would think is interesting. I watched Eyewitness today and found it really tepid and not really that interesting. And I think the most interesting part of it was I was like, oh, Christopher Plummer still looked pretty young in 81. I was like, oh yeah, I guess 81 was when Christopher Plummer wasn't that old yet. But I wanted to talk just briefly, and I guess it's just going to be me ranting kind of. Year of Living Dangerously from 82 is, for all, intents and purposes, incredibly misguided. And it's funny because I was watching this movie and I was like, there's a better way to tell this story, but literally it's taking every wrong move. And what it is it's Mel Gibson, and he's an Australian journalist, and he's in Indonesia, and he's trying to ingratiate himself with the foreign press, and they're kind of not giving him the time of day until he meets this Asian man named Billy Kwan, who is half Chinese, half Australian, played by Linda Hunt. Yes, that's the look. And
I just scrolled down on the Wikipedia page and I see the picture.
Linda Hunt won an Academy Award for this. Yeah. And here's the thing. First of all, there's no need for this kind of race casting. I don't mind that they had a woman play this character. I don't think that really matters in the grand scheme of things. But this is a white woman playing a half Chinese man. On top of that, it'd be something else if the director, Peter Weir, had been looking at actors of color, but he hadn't. He wanted to give this role to Wallace Shawn. And when he didn't think he could carry the pathos, he found Linda Hunt and gave it to her. And it's one of those things where it's so misguided in the history of things. Also, when it comes to Sigourney's character, since this is a Sigourney episode, it's so flat and so bad, and she's basically there just to be seduced.
Let's go.
I got him, a weekend guest.
Oh, what?
I can't leave with you now. Everyone did you got him?
I'm leaving in less than a week.
And it's just really frustrating. It like is a movie that's not really interested in the politics that it's about. It's like kind of interested in the broader strokes of those politics. And I was just very frustrated by the end of this movie. Which also bothers me because I really like Linda Hunt, and I almost don't think it's fair to judge her for taking this role, but I think she maybe should have said no when they cast her.
I think probably like back then it was like, wow, what an opportunity! Like and we are going to come across other movies that Sigourney has been in where I think other actors and even Sigourney, who are like, oh, wow, what an opportunity. Not taking the moment to be like, it is not the correct opportunity. Yeah. Like that is an opportunity that is not for you. And that is an opportunity that you should respectfully decline, because no acting challenge or opportunity is worth the discomfort and pain and the like, just fuck uppedness of taking on those roles. Like you don't have to prove anything by being like, oh yes, I can play half Chinese man. Like, we believe you, Linda Hunt, that you're a good actress. Like, so glad that you can do it or whatever. But like, and I will give her past, like, back then people did not fucking know better, but we do now. And which is the more annoying when we get later into Sigourney's career, when she and other actors should have known better to not take roles. Yeah.
That being said, moving along in her career, 1988 happens. It's a huge year for her. She ends up getting both a nomination for Best Supporting Actress and Best Actress in the same year. Best Supporting Actress for Working Girl, which we previously talked about on the show.
So good.
So fucking good. And then her Best Actress nom is for Gorillas in the Mist, in which she played Diane Fossey, who was a primatologist who ended up mysteriously getting murdered. And I know I said that in a funny way. It's not funny. Like, she was murdered and no one's ever been able to solve the crime, right? Because she like basically ran afoul of a bunch of poachers who like killed her in her sleep.
Right.
What would you like to talk about first?
I mean, we've talked about Working Girl. I do think she has a supreme talent for comedy. I do think, and when she is deployed correctly and like the script is right, she really fucking kills it, and it is just so good. I think Working Girl is a perfect example of this. I think she's my favorite part of that movie.
That's a hot take.
I just think what's the lead actress in that movie,
Melanie Griffith.
Griffith is like, you can kind of see her falling apart at the seams.
That's Melanie Griffith for you.
Yeah, and so like I just think Sigourney is playing like this a little bit villainous, but also just like very deeply funny. Also HBIC energy, like everything that she has, all those tools, and she knows how to use them. So I like the movie a lot, and I think she's very good at it.
So, Tess, a few ground rules. The way I look at it, you are my link with the outside world. People's impression of me starts with you. You're tough when it's warranted, accommodating when you can be. You're accurate, you're punctual, and you never make a promise you can't keep. I'm never on another line, I'm in a meeting. I consider us a team, Tess, and as such, we have a uniform. Simple, elegant, impeccable. Dress shabbily, they notice the dress. Dress impeccably, they notice the woman. Coco Chanel.
How do I look?
You look terrific. You might want to rethink the jewelry.
She's literally girl bossing around.
Yes.
Girl bossing to the nth degree.
Try watching that movie and not being like, yes, queen, Soleil, all those things.
And no, it's funny. She's a very funny villain in that film because, she really is, I guess the simple defense of her character is she's probably doing exactly what the men around her have always done to her. But it's a really interesting portrayal because I think she like imbues it with such weird humanity.
Weirdo vibes. But
vibes.
But it's so good. Now, Gorillas in the Mist.
Yes. Yeah.
I think like this is just like the era of Hollywood wanting to like make the exotic African movies.
Yeah.
Or not the era. We've had many eras of that, I guess. But like we're back on our bullshit. And I think that Diane Fossey probably had a lot of good intentions, but like I would even say her work is kind of fucked up. And I love animals, I love gorillas, I love Mist, but people are also important, and science and research and all that should not come at the cost of humans. And I think even in this movie, like there are people being like, I know you want to just say the poachers are bad, but like these are people who are trying to survive in horrible political situations. And so like, it's not as cut and dry as like good and bad. And like the whole thing of her being like, yes, I am a forest witch putting curses on you. Like it's,
I think I will say this. I think the movie actually does a surprisingly good job, because I do think it is a very Hollywood movie. Like I'm sure she fell in love with that nature photographer. I don't think the movie needs it. I'll be perfectly honest. And it feels very forced, and it feels very much like we have to have a love interest in this movie. I will say, I think when the movie does get interesting politically, it never explores. Yeah, exactly. And I think maybe one of the best scenes in the film is when she's talking to that government official who has actually sanctioned poachers to get a baby gorilla so they can sell it to a zoo, because he's like, that money goes to medicine. But the problem is the movie's not interested in talking about the foundational problems that like the capitalism is the problem, where like he shouldn't have to steal an animal to sell to a zoo just so that village can get money. But the movie's not interested in that, because it then has to go back to micro-focusing on, on this woman. And the thing, like, I do think the movie also goes out of its way to not present her in the best light always, which I think is also an important thing. There's that, one poacher that she pretends to hang, which is, in an American context, truly horrific to watch, because there's a lot of weight there to a white woman putting a noose around a black man's neck.
Yep.
How could you do that? I don't care what that man did. This isn't your private kingdom. That was sick.
You think I'm sick?
Am I a murderer? Did I do this? This won't stop until those butchers are stopped.
I think that once again, the movie like immediately shies away from that. What after it's done it, after it's like, think about this, it's like, but also don't think about it.
Right. I mean, it's like a part of me is like, it's very hard to be like, what research was she actually doing? She was sitting in the forest with the gorillas. She confirms they exist and is practicing her gorilla sounds at home. Like,
it's funny. The most irresponsible I thought she was with the gorillas was when she spoiler alert, she breaks up with this nature photographer, and the next scene it like cuts to her sitting in the rain crying amongst the gorillas, and I was like, girl, that doesn't feel like research.
Right. I'm sure Diane Fossey had a very interesting life, and I would love to read about her. I don't think this movie, the Hollywoodification of it all, is a disservice to probably who this woman was. And also, I think Sigourney is fine in this. I don't think she's like amazing. I think she's chewing every fucking like piece of scenery she can get her fucking hands on.
She certainly has a lot of scenes where she's sort of like expected to blow up.
Right.
And
it's like she's like a woman. She's fucking yelling at everyone because they just don't fucking understand the monkeys.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, I don't know that this. She probably was trying to push for these moments that just didn't exist in the script.
Yeah.
And don't call for it.
She wasn't the original cast. It was Jessica Lange, and then Jessica Lange got pregnant and was like, I can't do it. So,
I can see that.
Yeah, I actually think we probably got a better performance with Sigourney than
which
we would
is saying a lot.
Yeah. No slight to Jessica Lange, but I think Sigourney.
It is what it is.
Yeah. Her next really big moment is Alien 3 in 1992. We talked about that a little bit. And then she also did the 1492 Conquest of Paradise, the Ridley Scott movie about Christopher Columbus, boo, in which she played Queen Isabella, who I just saw 1 billion statues of while in Spain.
So you're like, I know that girl.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, Sigourney, what's up? But none of them really want to talk about the Inquisition for some reason.
So
they're just
weird.
like, yeah, they're just like, Isabella, great.
I'm not going to go there.
Yeah. She also appears in the movie Dave with Kevin Kline. I love Dave.
You told me you love Dave.
I did. Before we even did this, and we normally try not to talk too much about our subjects with each other beforehand, but I was like, put a pin in Dave. Did you watch Dave?
I watched Dave. It was one of the first movies I watched for this. Dave is fun because, like, I love movies that like are so unserious about the presidency.
Yeah.
Like they're just like, yeah, we hire doubles all the time, and like it's like a Pee Wee Herman West Wing episode, you know? Like it's so like be like, yeah, just go with it. Like we would just, the president's numbers are through the roof because he's like shaking hands and making jokes. It's like, okay, I was like, oh, the politics in the 90s were so cute.
Yeah, such a simpler time. And I will say this, the thing that I notice now as a more discerning adult, because like Dave is a movie that I remember when I think of Dave, when I think of watching Dave, I think of renting it on VHS with my dad and watching it on like a Friday night. And like, so it's like a comfort memory.
Yeah.
Clearly. Watching it as a discerning adult, I was kind of like, oh, the thing about Ivan Reitman is that he doesn't have style as a director.
No.
And like this movie, had it had a point of view directorially, I think would be even better, which is not to say I didn't enjoy it. I really like it. I still really like it. It's fun. And I think what's great about Kevin Kline and Sigourney Weaver is they have so much fucking chemistry together.
Hot.
Unexpected chemistry. For those who don't know, Dave is a movie about Kevin Kline plays the president. He also plays this man who is a presidential impersonator who they hire for just a night to essentially like do a small public appearance where he doesn't have to speak. However, that same evening, the president, while he's fucking a secretary, has a stroke and slips into a coma, and the evil Chief of staff. Yeah, the evil chief of staff decides to keep him on as president until he can be named president, which feels like a bit much. And Sigourney Weaver plays the first lady, who for the public is seen as there's this loving couple, but privately they're estranged, and she hasn't even been in the same room as this president for months.
I can't believe you would do something like this. Not even you. How could you?
How could I what?
Don't patronize me. I'm not one of your little bimbos. And turn around. I'm talking to you. Will you please turn around? Turn around. You know, if you want to be the same old selfish bastard, go ahead. I've gotten used to that. But don't put on this man of the people routine and then do something like this.
I don't understand.
You know very well that was not a works bill that you vetoed. That would have given those children homes. When I think of that spectacle you put on with the little boy and the magic trick.
Wait a minute, what's wrong with the magic trick?
It was some magic. You made their funding disappear.
It's very, to me, it's just like such a classic 90s, like all the beats and notes and curves of like a romantic comedy with like political discourse. And if only like the president was like a cool, real person, like
right.
We would
I love that it like the real strong suit is like, what if the president cared about poor people?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I guess that is a fantasy then. I guess that will never happen.
He's like, what if I just take this calculator and we figure out budget right now? And they're like, whoa, this president's so fucking crazy.
And I love that politics is so different in the United States now that when he asks the one senator that's on the one committee, he's like, do you want to tell an orphan that they can't sleep in it? Nowadays, that senator would be like, I do. I'll tell 20 orphans.
Yeah, he's like, what's his Twitter handle? I'll tweet him out right now.
But yeah, Dave is a lot of fun. She also starred in 1994 and Roman Polanski's drama Death and the Maiden. This movie is a trigger warning.
That movie, like, come in with the mind mentally, like, secure. You are buckled up. It's gonna press all the buttons. All the buttons will be pressed, starting with like, "Hello, it's fucking Roman Polanski."
Yeah. And that's the thing this is a movie that, once again, trigger warning, deals a lot with sexual assault, deals a lot with war crimes, and it's really a three-hander. It's literally basically just her, the man playing her husband, whose name escapes me at the moment. I'd never really seen him elsewhere. And Ben Kingsley, who is this man that she's kidnapped because she's convinced he was a doctor who sexually assaulted her several times while she was in a prison camp.
My hair was different then. Very light brunette. Almost red. Very long. No, I'm not surprised. What time didn't change, I have.
It's a hard watch, but I
Very
think
hard.
a really, really fantastic performance from all three of them, but specifically her.
I think Ben Kingsley eats them all up.
That speech at the end is maybe one of the hardest things I've ever watched without there being a graphical component to it.
Yeah.
Like him just delivering those lines in the way, like I was just like, holy shit. Movie.
This movie's hard because, like, I don't like her character in this movie.
Yeah.
And it makes you...
I don't think you're supposed to, I'll be honest.
Yeah, because it forces you to think of, like, how do you react when a woman behaves this way when she is grappling with or trying to deal with her sexual assault and this trauma. And for a lot of this movie, I was, like, not really vibing with it. But by the end of it, you were like, oh, fuck. And I think that's the point of the movie. It's to make you uncomfortable, to make you think like, yeah, bitch, you fucking idiot. Why were you thinking that way? Because you're an asshole and you're a man. And I was like, wow, they got me, gal. But I still think, like, on a technical level, I think Sigourney sometimes has a tendency to, like, overreach for stuff.
Interesting.
And I wish she had a little bit more, because she has that great voice and she has, like, a really expressive face, but I think she, like, gets too big too often, too fast. And so, you know, there are some great movies that she does do where she is able to navigate the contours of the character better. But in this movie specifically, it's just she's a fucking freight train. And it's not until the very end where she kind of finally slows down and you're like, oh, okay, like that. Now I can see her as, like, a fully, you know, layered person. But again, I keep thinking to myself, like, is a woman who's been horrifically hurt this way supposed to be rational? Is that the way she, like, how is a victim of sexual assault or a survivor of sexual assault supposed to behave? Like,
so what you're saying is you don't believe there's a gerbil in her vagina, mama.
What I'm saying is I don't believe women. How about that?
You're saying she should stick to comedy. Is that what
stick to comedy? How about that? No, I mean, it's a hard movie.
And I truly understand what you're saying, because it is one of those where, like, you're watching her and you're trying to understand the rationale, and because it is so big and so broad, you're sort of forced to reckon with your own prejudices, and she does get that moment at the end where you're just kind of like. Like,
it's
I get it.
Her and Ben Kingsley are going in opposite directions as far as performances. And so, like, you really get to see him grow and reveal himself as a character. Whereas she is this, like, spaghetti on the wall and it's slowly falling down. And so that's a harder thing to get into. But yeah, I don't know if we should recommend this movie to anyone, but
I know, that's the thing is I like, it's not a pleasure. It's certainly not. Also, it is a Roman Polanski film, so
so fuck him. Like, I never want to, like, tell people to go watch one of his movies, but if you ever do come across it, it is a very interesting, hard watch. And you know, good luck.
Also in the same year, 1994, she does a small role in the movie Jeffrey. She plays, like, a self-help guru. She's in, like, a scene. She's so fucking funny. And it's her and, like, Kathy Najimy and Steven Weber.
They were doing it for the gays.
Yeah, they were doing it for the gays. So good.
What you're talking about is evil. Am I right? Why is there disease? Why was there a Hitler? Why are these acrylic? Here's the lowdown on evil. It is the absence of love. Ta-da! That's it. Case closed. Where you don't have love, illness makes a home.
Wait, I'm sorry. Are you saying that people get sick because they don't love enough, or because people don't love them, or?
It may sound simplistic. It may sound cruel. It may sound like I'm blaming people for their illness. And maybe I am. That's Deborah.
I saw Jeffrey probably years ago, but hadn't really watched it since. And I didn't realize it's written by Paul Rudnick, who wrote the play, the man who also wrote Sister Act, In and Out,
Casual,
and Addams Family Values.
A gay icon.
Yeah, so I was like, no wonder this is so fucking funny, because like the movie's pretty dated, but it like all really holds up. In 1995, she takes the role of an agoraphobic criminal psychologist, Helen Hudson, in the movie Copycat. This is another movie I don't want to say warm remembrances of, like, gathering around but I remember watching this with my parents when I was a kid and being like, this shit is scary.
Yeah. There is a brand of movie that Sigourney is in where it's like she is a woman who has been aggrieved in some way. Most of the time it is a violent way. And like she is asked to like navigate these like very like traumatized, neurotic women. And for me, it's just like the movies ask of her and these characters to be like crazy and like, oh my God. And I can't leave my gorgeous home in San Francisco.
Yes.
And she
with,
has a
with her, I was going to say with her live-in gay man.
Who's her live-in gay best friend, who does tragically get murdered.
It's 1995.
Yeah. Bury the gays. My favorite part about this movie is Holly Hunter. I think Holly Hunter is fucking amazing in this movie.
I was literally going to say, if you want to talk about being eaten up by a performance, Holly Hunter.
Yeah.
Every scene that she's in, she absolutely steals it.
I thought you knew that I don't do this anymore. I'm retired.
Is that why you called our office 14 times? Because you're retired? Come on, help me out here. I really admire your work.
Does she do this wide-eyed little girl routine often?
Yeah,
Does it work?
Usually.
sometimes.
You can spare me the bullshit, Inspector. You don't admire me. You don't even like me. None of your people do. But the beautiful part is I don't give a fuck. That's the upside of having a nervous breakdown. So.
And no slight to Sigourney, but I agree. It's a sort of, I've been thinking about Sigourney's career, obviously, since we were doing this episode, but I've been thinking about how she says that she rarely will take a role just because she wants to do it. It has to be, she has to see the script and she has to like really get into the script. And I think she likes playing things that will challenge her to see if she can bring something to it. And I will say she's not always successful. And I know that we sound like we're being kind of negative on her. I don't think we're being negative. I think we're just being honest in the fact that there are things that she does that she will take a role that somebody else won't. And I think perhaps it's more for her, for the experience, than it is whether, it's like a truly good or bad thing. Obviously she's finding some entertainment in it, but like, we're going to get to it at some point later, but I was just working at the New York Film Festival and they showed Master Gardener, which is one of the 4 films she's in this year.
Casual.
And in Master Gardener, she plays a very strict woman who starts having an affair with a former neo-Nazi played by Joel Edgerton. And Paul Schrader, the writer-director, was talking about how his wife is really good friends with Glenn Close, and Glenn Close, or Glennie, as he was calling her, Glennie's always like, why don't you write something for me? So he wrote this part for her, and she was like, no, thank you.
She's like, you wrote this for me?
Yeah. And so, like, but Sigourney took it, you know, and I've heard she's very good in it. So I don't want to, but I think that's this thought process is like, what's going to be the most challenging and interesting for me? And I don't know if that always translates to what's going to be the most challenging or interesting for the audience.
Right. Or whether or not this is the right fit for me. Like, because I think Copycat could probably be remade today, because I think it's a really great story. And like, I think there are a lot of things we know now about like violence and assault of women that this could be played very interesting. I think this movie and a lot of these movies are victims of their time. In the 1990s, fucking people were writing women who have been traumatized and victimized as fucking crazy people. Like they act out, and like no one is seeing the woman who has survived sexual assault and is like living day to day and like doing her best. No, she always has to be the fucking agoraphobe who's like yelling at everyone and snapping and like, you know, freaking out all the time, like,
taking her pills. And it's really interesting too, because and once again, I do still like Copycat, but I do understand that it's a memento of its time. But you also have to understand that this is like post erotic thriller era when things are now moving more towards Silence of the Lambs, like serial killer thriller era. And so that's really where this comes out of. And it's so funny because I often think about how Seven comes out around the same time, and Seven's so well regarded. And I wonder if part of that is like Seven is a story about men and this is a story about women. Now, I do agree with you. I don't know if it's the most well-handled story about women, but like it's at least trying for something for that.
I think it takes a lot of big swings that I thought were really interesting.
Yeah.
When they fucking killed I was like, gag.
I'm going to bleep that out because I think people should go in not knowing that.
Yeah, I mean, it is a gag, but even the very ending, there's twists on twists in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, Harry Connick Jr. being a little ooky spooky crazy boy.
He's both surprisingly good and terrible in this movie.
Yeah,
it's a combo.
Correct.
But we've spent enough time on Copycat. I do want to get to some of the other things. 1997's The Ice Storm, specifically Ang Lee's film. We've talked about this previously in our Ang Lee episode. I think she's so good here. It's not a huge role. She's a very cold and angry woman. And it's funny because she said after she did this movie, like, that's all anybody wanted to cast her as now. They were like, gone is the Sigourney of comedy. Here to stay is this like bitter... and she was like not having it. She's like, no, like this is not. She's like, I also don't want women to just be portrayed in this way.
Right.
Like,
I'm not gonna comment on Ice Storm. I said in my piece in the Ang Lee episode, she's not for me.
But I think she's very good in the role. I mean, but I understand, like, why would you ever want to be stuck playing the like, kind of bitter.
She's like, I'm fun, actually.
In 99, she's cast in Galaxy Quest. It's funny because she has mentioned they didn't want her for this role. They did not see her as this kind of sexy, ditzy. And she fucking showed them. She showed them so much.
And she's so good. She's so good.
I rewatched Galaxy Quest today. I wasn't going to because I feel like I've seen the movie enough. And then I was just like, you know what? And I'd forgot, I'm glad I did because I forgot that her whole running gag was that her character on this Star Trek-like show was that she literally just repeats what the computer says.
Yeah. That's good. I mean, Galaxy Quest is good. It's tightly written, well performed. Like, everything makes sense. Like, it's so stupid, but so good.
It's the perfect Star Trek movie. And I say that as a Star Trek fan.
Yeah. Alan Rickman is hilarious.
Oh my God. R.I.P. Alan Rickman. We truly love. And like the funny thing about him too, and I was thinking about this while watching it, is it's a very physical role in a way that he rarely got to do unless he was playing a bad guy. But like him beating up aliens.
Yeah.
So good.
So good.
The only negative thing is like Tim Allen. I mean, he's playing the role perfectly.
Yeah.
He is the perfect William Shatner stand-in, but like...
Problematic fave.
Oh, really? I wouldn't want to be around Tim Allen if I didn't have to be. In this,
No,
in
I
this,
don't either. But like, do I stand Santa Claus? Yeah, I do. Like, sorry.
I do have a soft spot for the second one. I know.
We know.
She's also in A Map of the World, which is a movie I did not revisit, but I watched it when we did the
Julianne Moore
episode. I remember being kind of meh on this movie. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I rewatched it for this, and she's again kind of expected to play a woman on the verge and going over the edge, and so she has like these, like kind of freak out moments, which I get. Like, being a mother is hard, and again, like, fucking kids, not for me generally. But like, it's a you can tell that this worked better as a book, is what I would say.
Yes.
Like,
there's also a lot of that in Sigourney's career.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in 2001, she returns to comedy with Heartbreakers, the Jennifer Love Hewitt vehicle. Co-starring Ray Liotta, Gene Hackman, and Anne Bancroft, in Anne Bancroft's final big screen performance.
Casual.
I like Heartbreakers, except for the fact that it's fucking too long. It is a 90-minute movie stretched way over the misshapen skeleton of like 110 minutes.
Right. What I like that it's a rom-com, I guess.
Or 2 hours and 2 minutes. Sorry, it's longer than that. Yeah.
It's a rom-com, but it's a hard R rom-com. And it's trying to have it all like it's like, don't think and don't worry about the sexual politics of this, because it's funny. There are funny things here. And it's like, and there are funny things, but like, you just can't remember or can't think about like Jennifer Love Hewitt seducing and like almost fucking the same men that Sigourney is doing that to.
Yeah, because their mother and daughter con people. For those who haven't seen the movie, is their mother and daughter, and they con people and for certain amounts of money. And Jennifer Love Hewitt wants to strike out on her own, and Sigourney Weaver doesn't want to because she doesn't want her to because she doesn't think she's ready. Yeah,
and like when they're trying to con Gene Hackman because he's like this billionaire or whatever. For some reason, Sigourney's character is like, I'm an actress and I will be Russian and do a whole like a big part of the comedy is like her pretending to be Russian.
I assume you're here about the insurance, so my attorneys will take care of it.
That won't be necessary. I have no want to sue you.
Sue me? My people will tear you a new
I am
idea.
only come to see how you feel. My poor babushka.
And then when when Jennifer Love Hewitt comes along, she decides to pretend to be British. I'm like, why are there 10,000 accents being thrown on this stupid movie?
Because they're con people, Louis. They're actors.
What the movie that I want to see in this universe is actually just Ray Liotta and Sigourney Weaver like being lovers and con people together, because in the end they are perfect for each other. R.I.P. Ray Liotta.
He's very good in the movie, and I must admit, like, it's one of those things where like everybody thinks of Ray Liotta as being such an intense, like, Goodfellas type guy, and
he's so fun.
I think they forget that. And I think he's actually better than Gene Hackman, but I think Gene Hackman's also saddled with the most annoying character in the world, where he's just like a smoking gag, coughing. But I do think there's fun stuff in that movie. Ugh, also Jason Lee. Ugh.
Not for you? Not a Jason Lee stan?
I do like that they let him keep his unibrow in this movie, but
that's what I was saying. I was like, this movie is like, okay, we're gonna have Jason Lee because he's like a normal person, and he's gonna have normal friends. So it's like Sarah Silverman and like Zach Galifianakis.
Yes,
and so, like,
who were fun. And
so like the movie is like, okay, we need hot people, and then we need normal people for like that section of America, and then we need like smoking and tits. Like it's kind of all. Oh my god, I forgot my favorite gag. So Jennifer Love Hewitt decides that love is real and she needs to stop being a con artist, and so in the end she shows up at Jason Lee's bar to reveal all this. And the way the filmmakers decide to let us know visually that she has changed is they crimp her hair.
Yep.
Literally, this entire movie, she has her regular Jennifer Love Hewitt hair, but then she shows up to the bar to be like, but daddy, I love him. and she has her little crimps in her hair. I was like, she's so crazy, and she's so normal now, guys.
She has turned over a new leaf, and that leaf is crimping.
And yeah, and under that leaf was a hair crimper.
I don't want to end up talking about every single movie she's ever been in, but in 2003, she does Holes. In 2004, she does The Village, Vantage Point in 2008, Baby Mama in 2008.
These are all like tip spots.
Yeah, exactly. I will say, I think she does have a decent part in Holes, and I kind of like this villainous role. I had never seen Holes. I'm old. So like,
have you ever read Holes?
No. Well, that's the thing. So like, I think everybody in your generation, and I know it's only like 4 years apart, but I know everybody in your generation had to like read it in school. I was already a freshman in college when this movie came out.
I already had three kids when
I had three kids. I'm paying a mortgage. I don't have time for Holes. And but I watched it, and I think the movie's kind of a mess, I'll be perfectly honest, except for the Kiss and Kate Barlow stuff, which I was like, this should get its own fucking movie. This is so good. But I do think that like Sigourney Weaver's, like, it's not a nuanced performance, but her like prison warden, snake venom, nail polish wearing, like is a lot of fun in a very scene chewy way, and I think she got to have a lot of fun.
Dr. Pendansky, drive X-ray back to camp. Give him double shower tokens and a snack. But first, fill everyone's canteen.
I already filled them.
Excuse me?
I had already filled them when you drove up in the car.
Excuse me? Did I ask you when you last filled them?
No, you didn't, but...
Excuse me. Now, these fine boys have been working hard. Don't you think it just might be possible they have taken a drink since you filled their canteens?
It's possible.
Oh, it's possible, is it?
Also, behind the scenes gossip, she like didn't want to work with Shia LaBeouf and didn't want him anywhere near her because his father kept hitting on her and being really weird.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
Honestly, read the book. The twists are all gags. Like it's really good and satisfying.
I remember when Vantage Point came out. I've not seen it. I've still not seen The Village. Sorry. I was in Spain. And then Baby Mama, I think she's funny in, but also like, it's not my favorite movie. She ends up recording the American narration to BBC's Planet Earth, which the British version was narrated by David Attenborough. So if you go to England and you're like, I would like to watch some Planet Earth, and then you don't hear Sigourney's warm, soothing tones, sorry, they do stuff different over there. And she does voice work in the movie WALL-E.
I was gonna say, I think her next big thing is actually after Planet Earth, she's really dabbling more into TV. And Prayers for Bobby, which is a TV movie, it was kind of a big deal. Like it was, for a TV movie, it was like a pretty big get to get her, and it kind of like got some award love.
She was nominated for an Emmy. This was her reach for her EGOT. She did not. She has a Grammy. I will give her that. Like she's got something in the EGOT. But
yeah, I think Prayers for Bobby is like it's very emotional. It's very like dated, I guess, but like I'm not mad at it. It serves its purpose, and its purpose is to like for middle America, and
yeah. I watched it. I was a little shocked since it was directed by Russell Mulcahy, who's a director I like. And one of the things I like about him is that he's a queer director who was directing all these big action movies in the 80s as kind of like a fuck you to like, all these people are like, oh, manly men and whatnot. And it's like, yeah, there's a fucking dick sucker at charge. Like, take that. But I was a little shocked at how TV movie it was. And maybe once again, we've talked before about, like all these movies are very hard to make. They're not, especially Lifetime movies. They're on very strict schedules. They're on very limited budgets, and they, you really have to, but there's like a camera effect they did when, the Prayers for Bobby is a movie about a son of a fundamentalist Christian mother who has many children, and he comes out as gay, and she basically just keeps telling him he's going to go to hell until he kills himself. And then she comes around in the end, and it's based off a real woman who really has after her son took his life has transformed her thought process and has become much more accepting and helps other people become more accepting of their children. So it's like a pretty noble cause and a pretty noble outing. But I was just like,
it's quaint.
Oh yeah, why has it got to be so TV movie?
Yeah.
Mark Wahlberg gets to make the movies about gay suicidal kids. Like, why does Sigourney get the big budgets?
Yeah, and I will say I think she's very good. I think it's like a hard. I mean, she is in my eyes like a gay icon, and I think like it must have been difficult to like say all the kind of foul things that she has to say in this movie.
Joy's right, Bobby. The Bible says men committed shameless acts with men and received in their own persons the due penalty for their error.
You just won't change, will you?
Well, I can't erase what's in the Bible.
Personally, I think people should be able to love whoever they want. Did I mention how good lunch is?
Even animals know who to do it with.
And then come out on the other side of it. And fuck me if I did not shed a tear when she's walking in that fucking pride parade in the end. Like, it's quaint, but like if you have a beating heart, it will probably get you, gal.
It's so crazy to think about the fact that in the same year she's in Avatar.
Yeah,
the highest.
She made a movie for $12 and then made a movie for $1 billion.
Yeah, exactly. She owns 4 residents now. But I mean, Avatar, highest grossing film of all time. She plays a scientist in it. Avatar is a movie I saw once in IMAX and have never really felt the need to revisit. Sorry, Avatar stans. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you love the sequel. Maybe I'll see it someday, but like, it's not my thing.
It's Pocahontas in space.
Yeah, Pocahontas in space. There's,
blue people.
A white savior has to come in and teach them how to do things, and
it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed it when I saw it. I was like, yeah, that's great.
Beautiful gowns. Beautiful gowns.
And really, this like bit now that she's been, she's an actor who said she likes to do a movie a year. She likes to really get into it, but she's done a lot of tip spots, like you were mentioning. She's the Queen of the Vampires in Amy Heckerling's Vamps, which is a really unfortunate movie.
Very unfortunate.
She's in Exodus: Gods and Kings, which is another Ridley Scott film. Also, she really likes to work with the same people over and over again. You have your Ridley Scotts, you have your Ben Kingsleys, you have your
Alan Rickman, because she was in Snowcake, which I watched today and it's crazy. Gavin didn't watch it because it's Canadian and he hates Canadians.
That is a myth.
Canadians aren't real. Kevin Kline, who they team up together in The Good House.
Absolutely. Ivan Reitman, who we just found out is a creep.
Yep.
And so like she likes to revisit certain people, and I think part of that is just, she comes from like a theater troupe background. Right. So I think part of that is that like she gets that comfort from that. I do also want to mention a previously aforementioned movie that we've discussed on the show, 2010's You Again, in which she got to act against her friend Jamie Lee Curtis.
So fun.
We talked about it in our Jamie Lee Curtis episode. I think it's a lot less fun than you do.
I love this movie.
But I believe I did say in that episode, to me, the best stuff was the Jamie Lee Curtis, Sigourney Weaver stuff, and I wish we could add more of it. So I feel a little vindicated there.
This movie is the proposal wannabe, and I don't care. It's so funny.
She was in Ghostbusters Afterlife in a very brief cameo in the end credits, and if you made it all the way through that really boring movie with no jokes to get to the end credits, congratulations. That's Sigourney Weaver is your reward. And then, as you mentioned, she just reunited with Kevin Kline in September for The Good House. It's a film about a woman who's a recovering alcoholic, but she's not really recovering.
She's not recovering.
She's just an alcoholic.
She's an in denial alcoholic.
And there's a lot of direct address to the camera. I didn't really like this movie.
Really?
It didn't really do much to me. I thought she was decent in it. I think it has a really fucking funny scene with Kevin Kline where he's like fucking her and her daughter's like trying to talk to her and he just continues to fuck her.
Yeah. I actually think the movie worked for me. I hate the title of the movie. The title's stupid. But I think it worked for me. I think she's very good in it. I think she's finally giving us, not finally, like she's fucking been in a career forever, but like she is giving us like layers here. She's not just yelling, which sometimes I think she just goes to. And so and it kind of snuck up on me. Like I wasn't sure where she was going, but like there is like this generational depression that her and her mother and her daughters are dealing with that I thought was a kind of a interesting slow burn type of movie. Also, who's the hot comedian who's in this?
Rob
Delaney.
Yeah.
He's good. I like him a lot.
He's so fucking hot. You're right.
He's so hot.
But
and she's a little bit of a witch in this movie.
So I'm back in therapy. You are? What for? Anxiety. I feel like I'm not doing a good job at work, like I'm not doing a good job with... I'm kind of a mess. Welcome to motherhood. If you tried a martini. Very funny.
I don't know what it was that didn't work for me. I think to me it felt exactly like what you were talking about how like I'm sure it's a great book. Yeah. But I think the things at the end of it really felt so like beach read to me. And I don't want to give anything away since it is a 2022 movie, but like some of the stuff that happens towards the end, I was just like, okay, like this is paperback like fiction.
I mean, it's very that vibe though. And if you're into, I mean, I was on the ride. I was buying it. I was eating it. I was reselling it. I was into it.
Just a real quick note on her personal life. She's been married to stage director Jim Simpson since October 1st, 1984. They live in New York, in Manhattan. She's been there her entire life, basically. And they have one daughter together, Charlotte. It's so funny. I was watching an interview with her with Conan. And she was talking about Charlotte. And she's like, my daughter who's 11. And then I realized the interview was from like 2002. And I was like, her daughter's like 31 now.
Yeah.
Wow. That's how time works, folks. After making Gorillas in the Mist, she became a supporter of the Diane Fossey Gorilla Fund. And she's now an honorary chairwoman there. She was honored by the Explorers Club for this work and is considered to be an environmentalist. In 2006, she drew international attention through a news conference at the start of the United Nations General Assembly policy deliberation. She outlined the widespread threat to ocean habitats posed by deep sea trawling, an industry method for catching fish. And then on April 8th, 2008, in the Rainbow Room, she hosted the annual gala of the Trickle Up program, a nonprofit organization focusing on those in extreme poverty, mainly women and disabled people. So she is like clearly a force for good in this world. She's like clearly putting her money where her mouth is. And she's also like very queer, very clearly liberal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah, it's funny because she's talked about her parents, about they were kind of conservative or would say more conservative things, even though they were like liberal minded.
I had an English mother, and she wasn't stern, but you know, she wasn't your cuddly, sort of mushy mother. And so I was very interested because I think her generation also, they kept a lot of things inside. And sometimes it was perhaps maybe hard in general to talk about things that were difficult, stiff upper lip and all of that.
A very interesting career. And, you know, we didn't hit everything, but I think we're going to hit some others in our next segment. And I just love, like, there have been lulls in her career and, like, you know, when she has to do more tip spots, but I think she's on the upswing again. She's
yes.
And we'll get to that even later. But for now, Gavin, why don't we get into our picks and talk about our 1-star reviews. Let's discuss the things that didn't work for us. I talked a little bit about like how I think sometimes she is like too much on the gas too often. And also I think she just picks bad movies to be in sometimes. Like I think Snowcake is, I mean, Snowcake is a Canadian movie that came out in 2006 where she is playing an autistic woman, an autistic mother. Alan Rickman, who they worked together in Galaxy Quest. Alan Rickman is just got out of prison because
I love that you're saying this like it's 7 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. You're like
7
Alan
Degrees of
Rickman.
Alan Rickman. Yes. Because I want to one day play that game and actually be good at it, and I'm not good at it right now. Alan Rickman, like, picks up a hitchhiker, and she's like a kooky little crazy girl, and unfortunately they are in a car accident, and she dies. She is the daughter of Sigourney, and he goes to go apologize, and he's surprised and shocked that she is an autistic woman. And let me just say that Sigourney is giving the full I Am Sam treatment, and it is hard to watch.
Bang.
You can't have 2 A's in bang.
In comic book word Scrabble, you can. You can have 3 A's if you want, with a double letter score that makes 22 points.
This game is ridiculous.
It isn't. It isn't, because you get to say words like karang and boing and cowabunga and buttocks.
What comic book did that come out of?
Well, I don't know. I just like saying buttocks.
But I have to say my 1-star review is this movie, but somehow worse. It is 2016's The Assignment, which
I saw this coming.
I saw that yesterday, finished it today. The Assignment, if we were not paying attention, you may have recalled, like, right, or, you know, a couple years before the pandemic, there was a movie that was, like, really controversial because Michelle Rodriguez was playing a man who is forcibly undergoes a sex change by a mad scientist. And that mad scientist is Sigourney Weaver. I remember the news about it, and then, like, no one watched the movie because, duh,
right.
Why would they? But I said, I'm going to watch one more movie. And what is this on HBO Max? And I'm like, oh my God, it's that movie. Like, what the fuck? Like, oh shit, like this here, it does exist. I thought the movie just never got made. And it is a doozy to watch. Beyond Michelle Rodriguez and the choices she has made in this movie, and the fact that she looks crazy town, and that sex change surgeries just do not work the way that this movie wants us to believe they do. You cannot shave someone and magically their, like, follicles on their face just, like, are gone the next day. That's not how that works. Sigourney, I think, is actively bad. And I think it's because the script is actively bad. I think they make her say crazy things. I think she is trying to do the thing that she did in the Defenders Netflix show thing, where she's like,
yes,
I'm a mom, but I'm bad. And, like, it worked in that Defender. I mean, she's the best part of Defenders because Defenders sucked. But in this context, she's, like, very literally, like, strapped in the straitjacket.
Yes,
and
the straitjacket.
And she's like, I'm actually an artist. Don't you know that? And I'm quite good at surgery. You could hardly see any scars at all. And I'm like, just because you said that does not explain why Michelle Rodriguez wakes up as a fully, like, flawless, no scarred woman when in fact she's a man. It's even hard to talk about. I
think nothing could be more clear than the scene in which she's, like, being deposed by, like, the medical ethics board towards the end of the movie.
Right.
And she's doing her, like, very flat, matter of fact, like, you're all idiots and I'm a genius. And I was just like, why are we doing this?
On your terms, I am sorry for nothing. Absolutely nothing. I am proud of the experimental work I was doing for the benefit of every living human being. Sometimes harsh methods have to be used on the road to progress. That is my statement. I will answer no questions. None of you are worth my time. Now take me back to my cell.
Tony Shalhoub, by the way.
I know.
Speaking of Galaxy Quest. And and I expect better from both of them in their scenes, and they're really.
Nothing.
I think you're right. I think it's the script, and you know what I kept thinking about, because we talked about this a similar but also very dissimilar movie, The Skin I Live In, when we talked about Almodovar.
I was thinking about that.
Yeah, and this is like the bad, even though this is not really a Hollywood movie, because this is like Walter Hill doing as Walter Hill has said, like this was his tribute to the B movies that he grew up with. You know, he was like, I didn't set out to hurt anybody. I didn't, but I still think some thought process could have gone into it more.
Right.
But I was like, this is like the bad Hollywood version of The Skin I Live In, because it really removes all of the complicated pathos and all of the, you know, and I do actually still think that The Skin I Live In is maybe one of Almodovar's like more lurid films.
And he's very obsessed with like transness and like that. I think a lot of his movies very frankly deal with that. This movie has no interest in any of that shit.
No, exactly. There's no nuance here. There's no subtlety. Everybody is very arch. Sigourney Weaver is the mustache twirling villain. She truly is. If she showed up in every scene with a black hat, you wouldn't even notice it, because you'd just be like, yeah, that's...
They make her say, I empathize with those who want to get gender reassignment surgeries, but I wanted to scar Frank Kitchen. And so it's like, this movie wants to have it every which way.
Yeah.
But like, you know things are bad when Michelle Rodriguez takes off her bandages, LOL, and wakes up as a woman and like reveals her vagina and just falls to her knees and starts screaming, no! I mean, was this the take? This was the take?
I mean, also, there's a bit at the end where she like gets out of a trap by basically being like, oh, I'm a woman now, and I bet you guys haven't seen a lady in a while. And I was like, what is happening?
Horrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, but again, to refocus, like, I think Sigourney is very bad in this.
Yeah.
I think there is no part of her performance that I thought was like redeeming, good. She's just like, yeah, I'm a doctor on the side and I'm really smart and I'm an artist, and he killed my brother, and so now to say the lines, I've made you a woman, this is your second chance at life. It's like, what?
Yeah.
No.
I actually did not have another pick for my 1-star review either. I just watched The Assignment today and was horrified by it, and truly agree. I think she is like, I'm happy for her. Nobody saw this movie.
Yeah.
But I think this goes to the thing I was saying about where she like picks these characters that she thinks, oh, wouldn't it be interesting if I did this thing that allowed me to, because she clearly didn't do this movie for money. This was a movie made on the cheap that, as Walter Hill said, the thing that the company that produced it said is that they were going to give him a little money and he needed to find star power for it.
Yep.
And that's literally it. So I don't know. She must have found something challenging in that character, but once again, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's challenging or entertaining for the audience. And that's where the beat is. To me, this is her overthinking, there's a gerbil in my vagina, and the audience isn't laughing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm like, I think her in Copycat and her performance in Death and Maiden and even Gorillas in the Mist, I'm like, bring it down, gal. You don't need to be reaching that much. Wait, what is the movie where, Half Moon Street. I saw Half Moon Street where she's like a Middle Eastern scholar.
Oh no.
Well, she doesn't play she's a scholar of the Middle East.
I got very nervous for a moment.
And like, and she's British, and it's drama and spies and Michael Caine. And like, I just think a lot of these, she tends to overact a little bit, I think. And I just think she doesn't have to, because she has all the tools and powers.
Right.
So yeah, that's my hot take. That's my mixed review on Sigourney. Sorry, girl.
I just want to give one real quick more, because there was one other thing that I didn't really like, is she in 1997 did Snow White, A Tale of Terror.
Oh my God.
She plays the evil queen in Snow White, and she said it's the only time she's ever did it without reading a script because she just really wanted to play an evil queen. And she said that she wanted to play this character because she didn't want to play her just as evil. She wanted her to be like a mother and prove that there's like a motherly instinct. I'm sorry, babe.
No.
Yeah, you're just the evil queen. And like there's just no, especially in this movie, there's no nuance to it. It's literally just like, I'm a witch, I'm an old woman. Like that's
They said blood, honey. We're gonna make it macabre. Like it's such a clear, like, was this like one of like Cinemax's first movies or something? Like
Showtime, actually.
Showtime,
it's funny because this was supposed to be an actual theatrical release, and then they realized like, nope.
Oh no! This is the direct to DVD section, mama.
How did she look in that final moment? Did she cry out? Did she beg for her life? Did she know it was me? You mustn't feel remorse. The blood you spilled was just the venom of a scheming child.
Okay, let's get out of our 1-star review. Let's get into a much more positive area and talk about our 5-star reviews. I am torn.
You're Natalie Imbruglia torn.
I am Natalie Imbruglia torn. I do think that there are films in which she is very, very good in. I actually kind of do think you're right. I do think she does have a tendency to overact or overreact.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if acting is reacting, then she's overreacting as well. And, it doesn't always work. It doesn't always make for an enjoyable watch. But I feel like... What do I want to do?
Do it!
I feel like I really want to give it to Galaxy Quest. I know there's somebody in the audience who's like, why isn't he giving it to Alien? I love her in Alien. I would love to talk about her in Alien for hours. I think it's really fascinating. I think she basically like reinvents a genre, right? Because the reason that people watch sequels to horror movies is to see the monster. And she was like the reason for the sequels for Alien. And I think, in all honesty, I know there's a lot of critics who love the like Ridley Scott, non-Sigourney Weaver Alien movies, like the Alien Billy Crudup years or whatever. And the one with the big guys with the big forehead. I don't even remember the names of these anymore.
Alien, the other one.
I think part of the reason they don't work for me is because like I fucking love Ellen Ripley. Regardless, I think my final choice comes down to Galaxy Quest, and I think what it is I think she's really getting to do everything that she's basically been told that she hasn't been able to do. But also then be like, you want to see me in a fucking comedy? Here's me in a fucking comedy.
Yeah.
So she's like able to apply her actual like years of theatrical study and years of work, of character work, and give it to this kind of like ditzy blonde like actor who is all instinct and all just like, I'm trying my hardest here.
What is this thing? I mean, it serves no useful purpose for there to be a bunch of choppy, crushy things in the middle of a hallway. No, I mean, we shouldn't have to do this. It makes no logical sense. Why is it here?
Because it's on the television show.
Well, forget it. I'm not doing it. This episode was badly written.
I really love this character. As we mentioned briefly before, Galaxy Quest is this film in which, it's this crew of this TV show. There are all these actors who were on this Star Trek-esque TV show 20 years prior, and they essentially get drawn into an intergalactic battle by real aliens who believe their former adventures on TV are reality. And she plays this, she plays Gwen DeMarco, who played Lieutenant Tawny Madison on the show. She's the ship's communications officer and the only officer aboard who can give orders to the ship's computer. So she like literally repeats everything the computer says. And so she's taking this very silly, very like not what would seemingly be a non-important role and making her very important. And it's very funny. And yeah, there's this romance subplot with Tim Allen that I don't really love, but I think she plays it really well. There's a great moment where they think they're gonna die, and I will give the movie this, even though they do give them a kiss at the end. The moment where they think they're going to die, the thing they do is they hug each other instead of kissing. And I love that choice. I love that it's like, we're going to die. I need to be close to the person I'm going to die with. It's not about romance. It's about fear and just needing the touch of another person. And I do like that he's about to like confess his feelings to her. And as they like don't die and run away, she's like, the thing you were saying.
Yeah.
It's really funny. I also think there's a lot of really smart physical choices that, you know, I only noticed this time around because I was really looking for things that set this role apart. At the very beginning of the film, the rest of the cast is all pissed off because Tim Allen keeps making appearances without them and getting paid more money for them. And Alan Rickman's character's really pissed off that he's stuck in this role. And there's this great bit where they're being introduced one by one and walking out on stage, and Alan Rickman's clearly pissed that he's there. And she takes her arm and touches the small of his back. And it's something that you only notice in the wide shot. And I was like, that is such a lived-in choice.
Yeah.
That is somebody who is the friend of this man who like understands the pain that he's in of feeling like
the con pain.
Con pain, like feeling stupid and sad. And I loved watching that. I love, like, to me, that's the thing that she does really well, when she's able to take it down and make it sort of subtle and make it more internal. And, you know, she's just such a joy in that movie. Anyways, I've rambled on and on enough about Galaxy Quest. I'm as shocked as you are that it's my 5-star review, but guess what? It is. Louis, what is your 5-star review?
I was going back and forth between two choices as well. But I think in the end, the thing that got me more, that I came away thinking about more, is Alien.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Because honestly, you know, I've done ties before on the show, but I don't want to do it. So I'm glad you picked it. But Alien is really amazing. So
yeah. So 1979, directed by Ridley Scott. Yeah, for all the reasons I talked about up top, but even like, you know, just this is the movie that I feel like she wasn't overthinking it. She was just, you know, and again, I mean, it's a great script, really well written, really well directed. So like all the things lined up for her, and like even, you know, she is sexy in the role. Like they have her in those little panties and that little crop top a lot of the movie. But like I believe her when she's scared. Like these fucking movies love being like, and they got away, but then she didn't. Like, you know, every fucking time she thinks she's out of the woods, there's more shit.
What was your special order?
You read it. I thought it was clear.
What was it?
Bring back life form. Priority 1. All other priorities rescinded.
There's a damn company. What about our lives, you son of a bitch?
I repeat, all other priorities are rescinded.
How do we kill it, Ash? There's gotta be a way of killing it. How? How do we do it?
You can't.
I just think that she is so like expressive and just very, very like she's a perfect example of like a hardworking blue collar person who is smart and is not I don't know, an asshole, like, because she's fucking surrounded by them in both of these movies. It's fucking wild. Wherever she gets back to, they're like, you just blew up a $49 billion ship and we're gonna need not to come out of your wages, babe. I'm so sorry. Which is a fucking psycho thing. And like, that's capitalism, that's America. And I'm sorry for us all. I'm getting off track, but I just think she's so good in this and like is able to communicate all of these things about the character. My other pick was Working Girl. I just think
she's so great in Working Girl.
She's so good. I think Alien and Working Girl and Galaxy Quest like are just like the trifecta. They really showcase the range of how good she is and that she can do what I think is like the hardest stuff. Like the hardest stuff is doing comedy and the hardest stuff is doing like genre stuff. And she fucking aces it every single time.
That's the thing is the when she does take a big swing, but also like finds a way to fit it into her acting style. And that's, you're right. I think, you know, I truly do love Alien, and I don't want anybody to think that I don't because I didn't pick it as my 5-star review. But I think that she is able to convey so much in so little. Like, it's claustrophobic that, you know, she doesn't even have a ton of dialogue in that movie. And yet, you know, you really do, you get that sweat and that fear. And, you know, and it's funny because I listened to an interview with her from around the time the movie came out, and she said it's hard. She doesn't think of Ellen Ripley as a violent person because you know what she does in Aliens, she's really pushed to do. So when you watch her in Alien, like, she's not craving the violence. She's not like going after this alien, like looking to be like, let's fuck shit up, you know.
I had sort of an unanticipated, very uncomfortable reaction to shooting and killing things. I think I'm so glad that they were monsters and not people, because I think that would have been much, much harder. But I think that's good. I mean, I sort of tried to use that because I don't think Ripley is a violent person, especially after everything that's happened to her. So I think that the decision she finally makes to wreak havoc on the aliens is sort of a tiny explosion of madness for a second, you know.
She just wants to get out. She's scared, and but she's also smart, and she has like a lot of ingenuity, and she's like, it's so frustrating because you see her like follow every step that could like potentially stop this shit in its tracks. But everyone around her is such a fucking idiot and hates women.
Misogyny at its finest. I agree. All right. Before we get into our fast forward, let's do our mixed reviews review.
My 1-star review was, or both of our 1-star reviews was 2016's The Assignment.
Correct. And my 5-star review was 1999's Galaxy Quest.
And my 5-star review is 1979's Alien.
An excellent selection. Why don't we get into that fast forward?
We mentioned up top, she is on the upswing. She is booked
and blessed. I mean, this is the thing, and she has said, you know, like, she didn't plan this. She said she likes to do one film a year. She was not expecting all 4 of these movies to come out at the same time, but you know, we just had The Good House. Terrible name for a movie. I kind of feel like RuPaul being like, Heidi N Closet, not a good name, but yeah. I feel like less of a dick saying that. Then also she has Master Gardener, which just played the New York Film Festival. She also has Call Jane, which just came out this week. And then Avatar 2, which sounds like it's going to be the biggest thing since sliced bread.
Since Avatar 1.
Since Avatar 1. And so, like,
because Avatar comes out like what, next month?
Yeah. So she's just gonna be red carpeting it up.
Yeah. Call Jane looks interesting. It's like definitely feminism,
right?
Pregnancy.
It's a movie about abortion in a pre Roe v. Wade world, which we're now in a post Roe v. Wade world. So weirdly fortuitous timing.
Yeah.
Who could have seen this coming?
Truly. I wonder, where is it being released, or like, is it?
It came out last weekend.
Huh. It feels like very much a movie that like Hulu would put out.
No, it's theatrical. It's full on theatrical.
Good for them.
Yeah.
I just meant like if they want people to watch it, they should put it on Hulu.
I kind of feel the same way. No theatrical experience, Louis.
Yeah, I love the theater too. There's a lot of good movies out, but like, I want people to see this movie. No one's gonna go fucking to Alamo Draft House to watch Call Jane.
I know. That's the unfortunate thing. What would you like to see her do in her career? Because, you know, she's 72 now.
Yeah, that's wild.
But she doesn't seem to be slowing down in any way, shape, or form. I think, you know, there was a brief time period there where she was very loosely considering an Alien 5 when Neil Blomkamp, who directed her in Chappie, like pitched her an idea, and she was like, I'll do it if he directs it. And there was like some casual movement on that, but then it all kind of went tits up and Ridley Scott did what he wanted with his prequels. So like, I don't think I need 72-year-old Ellen Ripley like wandering around. I think
it's
I'm
kind
good.
of it's kind of giving like Indiana Jones vibes, where it's like at this point, like I appreciate the effort. It just is IP mining at this point. Like I don't need it. Kind of in the same way we probably don't need more avatars, but whatever.
I mean, James Cameron. You know what? I do not want to go off on James Cameron because this is not his episode. But like, listen, if he put as much effort into like making smaller movies like that, I know his whole thing is like innovation. I'm sorry, Avatar didn't change the game. We still have really shitty looking CG in Marvel movies all the time.
Yeah.
Like Avatar didn't up the ante. So, and like, sure, whatever. If this one's beautiful, it's beautiful. That's great. But like, not everybody's going to be able to spend 20 years making their underwater Avatar movie.
Yeah.
So like, that, I don't know. It feels like a fool's errand to me, because in the end, like, what did he prove?
Right.
Like, I don't know. In a way, he has the same problem that she has. He does a lot of things for himself. That doesn't necessarily mean they're productive for the audience.
Right. I forgot to mention, I did watch My Salinger Year.
Oh, I did too, actually. Yeah.
And I think like that kind of character, and I mean, I think both The Good House and My Salinger Year are good representations of like things that I do want to see her in. Like interesting women who are going through shit. Both movies are kind of like you said, beach read type movies that are just like easy to go down, like have a little bit of drama, a little bit of fun. And that seems like the lane that I like her in. It's funny. I think, again, to go back to Jamie Lee Curtis, like they're both finding these fun new things to do in this like third act of their careers.
But also like, to reference Jamie Lee Curtis, like, but I did also just have to sit through a movie where she had to fight fucking Michael Myers again.
Right.
So like,
yeah, I mean,
you know,
they're both getting the checks, but like, you know, they're getting checks and then also still dipping back into the small indies. And so you know, they're doing what they got to do to pay the bills, but, hopefully, I mean, well, there's another fucking Avatar after this one coming out whenever, I guess. But like, great that we get to see Master Gardener, you know, like great that we get to like, even though who fucking knows, she plays a neo-Nazi or whatever fucker, whatever that movie you said. She's a neo-Nazi? The guy's a neo-Nazi?
No, the guy's a neo-Nazi. Yeah.
She's fucking the neo-Nazi.
Yes. Yeah.
So we'll see how that turns out. But she's still making swings, you know, and what I do like is like, she is that New Yorker girl.
Yeah.
Whereas Jamie Lee feels more like LA girl. So I don't know. I kind of like those two great, you know, sentinels standing at the coasts of theater and film in America.
I would love to see them do like a Whatever Happened to Baby Jane together.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my God. I mean,
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Because I think I would put Sigourney in Betty's role, because I think that's the sort of intensity, and I think Jamie Lee would be more Joan Crawford.
Yes.
And can you just imagine Sigourney Weaver doing the "I'm writing a letter to Daddy"?
So fucking good. I mean, yeah, they are both masters of comedy and genre, and I think that is. I mean, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane is fucking that. Like,
yeah.
Them being campy, like, unfortunately Vamps wanted to be that and it wasn't.
It's so rock bottom, man.
And so
I saw Vamps once and I couldn't bring myself to do it again.
Yeah, I watched it once a while ago and I was like, no. What I don't need her in is like more of these like action thriller
Well, that's exactly what I was saying. Like, I don't need the Ellen Ripley type from her anymore. I did listen to an interview where she said that, the thing about The Good House, the thing that drew her to it was that she was playing a normal woman.
And I really think that Good House is quite a step forward, because older women used to have to play obnoxious mothers-in-law or villainesses, stuff like that. And she's a real person, and she and Kevin Kline's character, Frank, are in a real relationship. So it's just like, it could never have happened earlier. It just didn't. And so I'm so grateful that I got to play Hildy and speak out for her.
Yes.
And that's something that she's not really allowed. And that's something you did pick up on. So like maybe I was just more turned off by the movie as a whole, but I don't think she's bad in it. But
right.
I also have an issue sometimes with direct address, where sometimes it's tough to pull off. I think she does it rather well in the film, but
me too. Yeah. I think that's also why maybe I liked her in A Monster Calls. Like, she is just like a grieving, grandmother who's like grieving mother and grandmother, just trying to fucking like go through this awful thing, with family. The accent, I would say, is shaky, but
it's questionable.
Yeah. But I maybe I get that's kind of like her being a normal. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that wraps up Sigourney. I think she's incredibly talented. It was such a strange treat to be able to go through her film.
Strange treat. We watched some really hard to watch movies. We watched some crazy fucking movies.
She, if there's one thing you take away from this, know that she is willing to challenge you regardless if you enjoy it or not.
Yeah, she is committed to the bit.
Absolutely. But speaking of committed to the bit, that's us. You can, if you want to write us, you can always find us on Twitter at The Mixed Reviews.
We're on Facebook. Just type in The Mixed Reviews.
If you want to email us, you can write us a little love note at reviewsmixed@gmail.com.
We're on Instagram at _mixed_reviews.
And if you want to listen to our back catalog like you've listened to this entire episode, you can find us on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google, Amazon, Audible. We are on every single thing. Did I say Audible multiple times? Sometimes I do that. And if you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, please stop by there. Leave us a 5-star rating. Write us a little review. We actually do have another review, but I wanted to save it for next episode. And thank you so much for that review. And then also join our Patreon.
Yes.
There's all sorts of little fun goodies. You have more access to Louie and I, especially through the Discord. Also, we did our first episode update, which I feel bad I totally did without Louie, and I'm a jerk, but whatever, it's great. And but we will be doing more. We will be doing more. So.
Yes, and please keep an eye out for updates about the Bowery Film Festival. Hopefully, we will see some of you there. More updates to come on that. And with that being said, we will see you in 2 weeks.
Bye-bye.